Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. All right. Giving all praise to my Heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh. By Hashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders of New York and Connecticut. Peace and many salutations to you brothers out there that's toiling in this truth. Now, been keeping up with the whole situation in Ukraine. Ukraine is not doing so well. I believe that the official number of people who have died, the soldiers who have died in Ukraine, is well over 50,000. I want to say, double that. Let's do a quick assessment. Soldiers that died in Ukraine. Yep. Let's say news. Some people are saying 85,000, more than 85,000. Some people are saying 100,000. So this war has been going on for the last 2 years, and we've seen over 100K UK soldiers have died. On top of the fact that there's a substantial need for fighters in Ukraine, so they have lowered the age requirement in Ukraine. So it was 25, now it's 20. So you have an ample amount of soldiers, not soldiers, of would-be soldiers, of civilians that are fleeing to neighboring countries like Romania. And these guys are paying 6,000, 7,000 in the equivalent of US dollars in order to be smuggled into various countries, countries like Poland, again, Romania, to flee war. Okay. These guys don't want to fight. Conversely, you have in Russia, according to Scott Ryder, which we're going to get to, we're going to listen to his sit down, about 5 minutes of him. Scott Ryder is a former Marine intelligence officer. And he was actually in Russia. He has firsthand accounts of, the patriotic spirit that is growing there, man. Okay, it's not like America, where it's something that's watered down. No, these people are crying, for their country. They're willing to die for their country. So these sentiments are different. I did sit down on this a couple of days ago. You guys want to check this out. But right now, my focal point is on Ukraine and why Ukraine is losing the war. So let me let you hear this particular video that I was alluding to, just to give you some understanding of what I mean. And I'll put it before I start. Let me put this in. The chat for you guys. When you have a chance, take a look at it, listen to it for yourself. I got this gentleman here, actually from the elder Malcolm out there in Chicago, and he does excellent sit downs on current events. Um, real contemporary news. And this is a guy who we recommend. And so I was curious on, what this man's standpoint on the war in Ukraine. And I like it. I like him because he gives very objective. Objective analysis of everybody and everything. Okay, I'm putting this in it right now so you guys can take a look at it. Okay, that's it. This is the one that I'm speaking about right now. And we'll let you guys hear. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in.
We've learned that Ukrainians are surrendering in this conflict, in this war.
I'm playing this off my phone. I'm hoping that you guys can hear this audio and it's not muffled or it's not too loud to where it's not edifying. I'm not sure if anybody listening, but if you can hear it, if y'all tap in later, or even if you play this back later, let me know how the audio is on the while I'm playing this off my phone on this particular video. Even if it's something that's bad, let me know how you feel about it so I can, rectify it. Okay. Because, I know I like to just jump on. I don't really give notices and things of that nature. I'll jump on and jump off, or sometimes it'll be a topic that people don't listen to, but whoever is here, let them hear,
We've learned that Ukrainians are surrendering in this conflict, in this war. And the level of surrendering happening right now is unbelievable because it's not comparable to anything that we've seen so far. How do you see the conflict right now in Ukraine?
The Ukrainians are in a state of collapse. I've been talking some time now about correlation of forces. I've talked about military math. What happens when one side consumes resources at a far greater rate than they can be replenished. The other side is accumulating resources far greater than they can be diminished.
Hey, the water, more of the story 777. I appreciate you, bro. And just going to what Scott Ritter said, he's the gentleman that's interviewing said we see the Ukrainians surrendering, at an alarming rate, which we just expounded on. So Scott Ritter said, yeah, they're in a state of collapse because they're accumulating resources at a very substantial rate, to combat the occupation of Ukraine. Because look, in the last 2 years, Russia was able to kill 100,000 people, man. Numbers are saying it's more than that. Some people are saying 85,000. We're around it off and saying 100,000 people in 2 years. And so this is not a war. This is more so of an occupation. Okay. If Russia wanted to stomp on Ukraine, they could, but what we see going on is, this basically is an upscale proxy war between America and Russia, and Russia is taking this as a way to basically get land back that they lost during after the SSR was disbanded. Okay. All right. Now I say all that to say you have the Ukrainians, stuck in the middle of these two world powers, and they're using their army resources at an exponential rate just to hold off, the the power of Russia, man. Russia, Russia ain't just no rinky dink, country, contrary to what, America likes to paint them as, the very run down, and incompetent state. Now these Russians are very competent, have a sophisticated military, they have sophisticated military technology, and also they're very well versed in war, man. And what we see, is basically what we see the U.S. do in the Middle East, going over there and occupying that region, and totally, destroying the infrastructure, and the might of these various people. But now it's happening to Esau, Edom. We have to remember too that the Ukrainians have one of the biggest numbers of neo-Nazis. Okay, one of the biggest populations of neo-Nazis. Which the Russians can't stand. So they're being stomped on right now. Hey, call on your heart, watch them out. Sharp. We don't have a investment in this war. You know what I'm saying? So hey, Esau is destroying Esau. All right. Now this is why we seen in the news recently that America is sending $61 billion over there to help them, to help them combat this particular war, okay? Because again, the Ukraine is using up its resources at an exponential rate, man. And we actually have an example of this in the scriptures. Now, before I move on, I wanted to give this example. Okay, this example of an occupation and how it can affect a society happening to us. Okay, now. This is First Kings 1 and let's see here. First Kings 1 and 13. Let's see here. Let me double check my notes. Yep, Second Kings. I'm glad I checked my notes. Second Kings, and I'll get this. I'll read this in the NLT because it's going to be pretty lengthy. Okay. All right. Now this is First Kings 18. Point is in 13, but let me read up. I start at verse 9. First Kings, excuse me, I keep on saying First Kings. Second Kings 2 in, I don't know why I'm saying 18. I'm looking at verse 9. I don't know why I'm saying 9. I'm looking at verse 9, but it's Second Kings 18 verse 9. So we're at 2 Kings 18 and 9. Okay, it says during the fourth reign of Hezekiah, during the fourth year of Hezekiah's reign, which was the 17th year of King Hosea's reign in Israel, King Salmanazar of Assyria attacked the king of Samaria and began a siege against it. 3 years later, during the sixth year of King Hezekiah's reign and the ninth year of King Hosea's reign in Israel, Samaria fell. At that time, the king of Assyria exiled the Israelites to Syria and placed them in colonies in Halah along the banks of the harbor river in Gazan in the cities of the Medes. So uh, the king of Assyria, Salmanazar, be, started a war, well, occupation campaign on Samaria. Okay, took the land and he set them in various colonies on the bank, much like what happened to the Palestinians that was set in that particular region when when uh, the the land of Israel was made in 1948. Okay, we see something similar that happened to us. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's read it again. It says, at that time, the king of Assyria exiled the Israelites of Assyria and placed them in colonies in Halah, along the banks of the harbor river in Gazan, and in the cities of the Medes, for they refused to listen to Yahweh their power and obey him. Instead, they violated his covenant, all the laws that Moses, Yahweh's servant, had commanded them to obey. And if you go back to the history of the kings of Israel, they didn't follow after the will of Heavenly Father. All of them went off. So the Most High allowed these various occupations to occur, right? To eventually they were, taken out of that land. This is we see in the process here in Second Kings, the 18th chapter. Okay, but I wanted to focus in what happened to Hezekiah because it relates back to what we're bringing out, how with us being occupied, how our resources was dwindled. Okay. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign, King Nebuchadnezzar, Sennacherib of Assyria came to attack the fortified towns of Judah and conquered them. King Hezekiah sent this message to the king of Assyria at Lachish: I have done wrong. I will pay whatever tribute money you demand if you will only withdraw. The king of Assyria then demanded a settlement of more than 11 tons of silver and 1 ton of gold. To get this amount, King Hezekiah used all the silver stored in the temple of Yahweh and in the palace treasury. Hezekiah even stripped the gold from the doors of the Lord's temple, and from the door posts he had overlaid with gold, and he gave it all to the Assyrian king. Now, I believe we were rising up against the Assyrians, and so that's why the occupation happened. And so you had the northern tribe, which was totally wiped out, and we had to make a deal. But the point I'm bringing out is when you're occupied by a bigger country, your resources will be dwindled very quickly. This is what we see going on in Ukraine. Okay, as we just heard Scott Ritter just say, their resources are being dwindled at a very alarming rate. This is why we're seeing the U.S. send them $61 billion. Okay, all right. Let me get this for you guys. I'll get this in from PBC. Excuse me, guys. Now this is according to PBC, it says the House passed billions in aid for Ukraine and Israel, breaking long congressional stalemate. Um, and there's one in particular I actually wanted in regards to this because, yes, they are passing this, but the U.S. is going to benefit off of this because this various money that's being passed uh, will be for will be made basically from, how can I put it? Basically, they're funding this money through not just giving them money, but it's going to be through the America's military complex, man. They're sending them money via artillery and things of that nature, man. So, you had the U.S. That's benefiting off of this too. Okay, all right. The particular one that I had, I had it, but it's not here. So this one right here will be suffice. It says, now this is according to PBC.org. It says the U.S. swiftly approved 95 billion in foreign aid for Ukraine, Israel, and other U.S. allies in a rare Saturday session. Democrats and Republicans joining together after months of political turmoil over renewed American support for repelling Russia's invasion. With overwhelming support, the 61 billion aid for Ukraine delivered a strong showing of American backing as lawmakers race to deliver a fresh round of U.S. support to the war-torn ally. Some lawmakers cheered on the U.S., the House floor and waved blue and yellow flags of Ukraine. Okay, so here you go. You had the U.S., as I said, they're benefiting off of this because, like I said, it's not just money that they're sending. They're sending artillery and things of that nature. So I say, oh yeah, we're sending them aid, but the U.S. is sending them, basically artilleries and things of that nature. They're manufacturing it, right? They're getting these government contracts. They're overcharging the government itself. These various the defense companies like Lockheed and things of that nature, right? They're even overcharging the government. They're sending them these artillery things over there to Ukraine, and Ukraine is getting blown to smithereens, man. The U.S. could care less about Ukraine. They're simply a pawn. The more research that you do, but this is what the U.S. does. Okay, it's a very hey, these guys, man, are something else. Very, very wicked. But I don't want to digress too much. We'll go back to this this article right here. Well, the video, okay.
Accumulated resources far greater than can be diminished. That eventually the side that accumulates the most resources will have a decisive advantage, and you will see collapse on the battlefield. We're seeing collapse across the battlefield right now. The Ukrainians literally have nothing left. There's no brigades left to throw in. There's no air defense. There's no artillery. The one thing they have is they've massively produced these FPV for drones, and so they're throwing those into the battlefield, saturating the area. And these are very dangerous, lethal weapons, and so they are causing the Russians some headaches from that. But Other than that, they've got nothing left, and Russia's figured it out. Russia's blowing up drone production facilities. Russia's learning how the drones communicate, and then they're going to blow up the operators, and they're going to nullify that and just keep rolling. There's nothing Ukraine can do to stop this. This is why Ukraine is so desperate for NATO intervention. This is why Ukraine is attacking this Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in an effort to get the international community to intervene on its behalf to forestall a regional and global nuclear catastrophe. But there's nothing the Ukrainians can do to reverse this. This is happening. You know, the Russians don't normally commit to a timeline. They're very driven by objectives. They'll let the objective define the timeline, not a calendar. But for the first time, you're starting to hear Russian political leaders, Russian military leaders, people in the know speak of, you know, a collapse by the end of this summer, early fall, that this war will not continue out of 2024.
You already said. So this this particular war is not going to leave 2024, man. Let's say that collapse. You know, what do you say? And sometime in December or the summer, somewhere around there. You know what I'm saying? You know, so this war was really, you know, never about Ukraine becoming a part of NATO. They'll never become a part of NATO. This is the U.S. You know, using the Ukrainians as a pawn, you know, to threaten Russia, okay, and also to benefit off of war, man. Okay, it's something. It's it's very wicked. He's even very wicked. He even uses his own people up, you know, to you know, for his own agenda. He'll murder his own people. This is Nahum 3:1. Woe unto the bloody city! It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, and the prancing horses, and of the jumping chariots. This is ancient war or ancient weaponry. Now, in layman terms, it would be they're spending billions of dollars on the U.S. defense system, you know, these various contracts that the U.S. has with these various defense companies are becoming more and more expensive, you know, and they're making money off of war. So it's continual war, you know, that's driven the U.S. Okay, we're seeing this example in Ukraine. This is why the U.S. is likened unto Assyria. Okay, and it's spoken about in Assyria's characteristics is being spoken about in Nahum. All right. Nahum 3:1, woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The nose of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and of the prancing horses and of the jumping chariots. The horsemen lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear. And layman terms would be guns, missiles. And there is a multitude of slain and a great multitude of carcasses. and there is none in of the corpse. They stumble upon their corpse. Now we just seen 100,000 people just died within a 2 year span in Ukraine. Think about how many wars the U.S. has funded in that military-industrial complex. Has funded in order to kick these various wars off throughout the world. We got to say this: the U.S. has its hand in everything. This is a bigger example of a proxy army or a proxy war going on that the U.S. is funding. Think about the small ones he's funded throughout Africa that's going on right now to this day. South America that has destabilized that country, right? So this man's war system has, taken the lives of billions of people, bro. That's not an exaggeration. There's this endless war that has been funded and it has been raised by the U.S., man. Babylon the Great. Esau, Edom, bro. Okay? Verse 4, because of the multitude of the whorings of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and how's Esau, Edom are selling himself now. One way in which we're speaking about right now is he's selling himself, his ways, his witchcraft, via the military industrial complex, man. And families through her witchcraft. Behold, I am against thee, says the Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, in the kingdom thy shame. And this is why you see these people being called out more. This is why Esau Edom is being called out, because we're in a time of exposure. We're in a time of this man's wickedness to be seen on a very broad scale. That's why the whole situation with Israel is so distasteful. Around the world, people are showing that these people can literally commit, the G word. I was about to say it, but you can't say it. The G word, and they had the license to do so because America is backing them. You can't even speak freely again, about it, right? So these other nations are seeing this, and they're being called out, bro. This man funds war crimes, delete millions of people, starve out millions of people, and benefit from it, bro. Occupy these people lands, take over certain cities, take their resources. This man's doing it. This man's doing this on a broad scale, right? He's done it on a broad scale. Now these other nations are coming against him, and a huge nation that's coming against him is Russia. That's why this war endeavor that's funded by the U.S. is not working in Ukraine. Because this man, the Russians are prophesied to be adverse to Babylon the Great in the scriptures. Okay? All right? Let's listen to this a little bit more. All right?
or will not continue out of 2024. And for Russians to be saying this means that, they've made a decision that is going to be what they're fighting for, looking forward to accomplishing. So I think we have to take that seriously. I think this collapse that's taking place is the final stage of the death of Ukraine. And the tragedy is they could have avoided this had they accepted the terms of the Istanbul communique. They could stop this at any time, but Zelensky still talks about, making Russia surrender. He talks about having a peace conference hosted in Switzerland where apparently they're going to compel the Russians into surrendering, and totally unrealistic things like that.
Do you think how in the West they're perceiving this condition in the battlefield? Because it seems to me that still in the mainstream media they're not showing the real picture of what's going on in Ukraine. And when we see a battalion, we see Azov battalion just getting out of this conflict, is not willing to continue this. You see, these people are the far right part of the army, Ukrainian army. If they're not willing to fight with Russia, and how they can convince the other part of the Ukrainian soldiers to be part of this conflict, to be part of this war.
When I was traveling in Russia earlier this year,
listen what he about to say about Russia and the sentiment towards this war. I'm talking about the public. Listen what he says.
I was told by the Russians that 1,500 Russian men were volunteering per day to serve in special military operations. The Russian government came out and said that because not everybody volunteers for conflicts. So, but they said that they're absorbing 30 to 40,000 new Russian troops every month, equipping them, sending them out to train.
You hear what they said? You got the Ukrainians, they're fleeing, right? But you got, I hope bros can see this. I want y'all to see this number. Y'all see that number? 30 to 40,000 people, are being trained, in and willing to fight. Okay? Let that marinate. A month now.
And them sending them out to train. Arestovich, Zelensky's former advisor, recently gave a talk, and he said that in Moscow today, throughout Russia, the system is overwhelmed with men in their 40s who are going to the hospitals to cure chronic conditions. Basically,
You got men in their 40s trying to get their chronic illnesses fixed so they could go out there and fight. So the spirit is being put on Russia to fight. Okay, this is serious business, right? We understand this because this is prophecy. This is what we've been waiting for. Okay, this is what we've been waiting for. Ezekiel 38:1. The Lord of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief priest of Melchek and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Now that this area here is Russia in layman terms. Okay. And say, thus said Yahweh power, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief priest of Melchek and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thy army, horses and horsemen, going into warrior artillery. Okay, what's war artillery? Guns, missiles, just drones, soldiers. Okay, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields all of them handling swords. Persians, Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya, North Africa, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Okay, what are they doing? Well, they're going to uh, attack. In here, it's talking about Israel. And I was watching the elders sit down last week, and this is going into how they're going to be attacking the land of Israel, which is, the little caps, if you will, if you read down. This is what we see going on right now. There's various, war, war events that's going on between who? Iran and Israel, which, again, those are the Persians. You see, they're not willing to take, America's not willing to get involved. Why is that? Because they know Russia is backing who? The Persians or Iran. Okay? But right now we see, two world powers going at it, Iran and Israel, man. And things are heating up. Okay? So it says Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, and with them, and all of them with shields and helmet, Gomer, and all the mans, the house of Tagarmah of the north quarters, and all the bands and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepared for thyself, thou and all the company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of my people against the mount of Israel, which have been always wasted, but it shall be brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. So this has to happen in order for us to get into the kingdom of heaven, in order to get placed back in our land. War is going to have to happen in the land right now. In our land, it's going to be cleansed, and we're going to be able to enter in. Okay, but this war is telltale time of the days that we're living in. Will it die down? We don't know. It could heat up. It could, these are wars and rumors of wars that Yahweh Shai spoke about, in Matthew, the 24th chapter, okay? Around 6. It says, and ye, Matthew 24:6, and ye will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay, so all these things must come to pass. In order for us to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And yes, more of the story 777. Yes, you're exactly right. While the U.S. can barely get people to join, even less so men. That's so correct. That's the same thing. Now, it's beautiful you said that. That's the same thing that's going on in Ukraine. Them young boys are fleeing out of there. Now granted, the first wave, you had middle-aged men on the front line, but they out there dying right now as we speak. They dying. Overworked. They need somebody to come in to reflect, to refresh them. And you got them guys, they're fleeing. Okay. Jeremiah 49:14. I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador sit unto the heathens, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. That's correct, bro. That's beautiful precept, right? This is what's going on. Hey, these nations are getting ready for war. Okay, versus you got Babylon over here. They still trying to identify themselves sexually speaking. I'm over here looking at articles. I'm on MSN, and I just seen 2 articles about 2 different new sexualities. It's like, damn, how freaky can you get? You over here talk about, your sexuality, what you like to love, and what you like to, commit lewdness with, and where all hell is about to break loose. So you're exactly right, bro. The other nations, they're getting ready for war. Babylon the Great's over here, playing games. And there's a lot of distractions going out there, even in the so-called black community. Niggas love to argue. So you got the whole beef thing with Kendrick Lamar and dang on, I don't know, what is it, Drake? And he mad at somebody else. There's all types of madness going on, right? But we know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? These people gonna get caught out there. There's gonna be a thief of the night for a lot of these people, man. I'm looking for a particular scriptures, like that's in the day of Noah. I know it's in the 24th verse. Days of Noah. Right. It's Matthew 24:37. It says Matthew 24 and 37. But as the days of Noah were, so also will be the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them away. So also will be the coming of the Son of Man be. And that's exactly what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to be consumed, because they're so occupied in this world, okay? And they have a very lackadaisical and effeminate spirit on them. So when all hell break loose, men are going to be acting like females. They're not going to be patriotic. They're not going to be willing to fight for their country, because this country and really Western culture has fed them the concept of individuality versus collectivism. Collectivism is what's good for a particular society, But through the whole concept of first world, ideologies, people push. It's all about the individual and what's good for that person. That's true freedom, to be able to pick your own, mindset or concepts. And this is why this place is basically in dipped in wickedness, because it pushes a very feminine, emotional mindset. That's an emotional mindset, that Queen of Heaven type of mindset. Okay, and this is why this place is going to be destroyed. It's going to be taken out, and a huge way in which it's going to be taken out is Russia. Russia is going to be a catalyst for this place falling. Now, let's go back to it. Now I got y'all brothers' attentions. You know what I'm talking about? Let's go back to it. Let's listen to what he says.
To make themselves medically qualified to serve the army. If
you're just now tuning in, we're listening to this gentleman named Scott Ritter. Now, Scott Ritter has made the statement that Ukraine is headed towards total collapse. Okay? It's headed towards total collapse. We just went over how one reason why is because the Ukrainians are using their resources at an exodus rate. This is why the U.S. is sending 61 billion worth of aid over there. Okay, and also it's a fact that you have these Ukrainians fleeing to places like Romania, to places like Poland to avoid the war, versus in Russia, you have was I don't know if y'all can see that. There we go. 30,000 or 40,000 soldiers being trained monthly, and enter into the war, right? In Russia. Okay. These are Russian soldiers. Okay. Now we just left off on how we left off when Scott Riddle was explaining that you have 40-year-old males that have chronic illnesses that are trying to get these chronic illnesses resolved so they can enter into the war or enter into the army to defend Russia. All right. So let's play this one more time.
All right. 40-year-old men are going out of the way so that they can serve in the army on the front lines. Why? Military service in Russia right now is considered patriotic duty. We're at a stage right now. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Patton. Great movie, but George C. Scott in the role of Patton, during his famous introductory speech, he said, what are you going to tell your grandkids when they say, what did you do in the Great War? Are you going to be shelling shit Louisiana, or are you going to be on the front lines? And I think right now, the Russian public has embraced this war, the righteousness of this war. This is one of these defining conflicts. In the West, we don't respect that. We don't understand what's happening. I said the same thing when I was there earlier last year during the Victory Day celebration. The genuine outpouring of real visceral patriotic fervor, not fake stuff, not what we do here in the United States. Genuine patriotic fervor, where people are sobbing because of the emotions that are driven by this. It's real in Russia. It's visceral. You have to see it to believe it. That's taking place in Russia right now. In Ukraine, nobody wants to fight. The Nazis don't want to fight anymore. Azov is saying no.
He already said, the Nazis don't want to fight anymore. Ukraine has the biggest populations of one of the biggest populations of neo-Nazis. They actually, have a whole brigade of neo-Nazis. They're not even willing to fight anymore. They're losing. Do your research, okay?
It's the 7th Mechanized Brigade, which is comprised of these thugs from the right sector. It doesn't want to go to the focal point of the battlefield right now. The 25th Airborne Brigade or Air Mobile Brigade was compelled to go, and they're surrendering. They're quitting. These are the 3 elite units of the Russian military that are left. Other elite units like 47th Brigade.
Nah, you already said those 3 elite parts of the Ukrainian army. They don't want to fight. So not only do we see the prophecy of Ezekiel going on, but there's the prophecy of the Egyptians rising up against the Egyptian. Really, this is Esau rising up against Esau, right? different ideologies are clashing. You know, we use that for, you know, America, which, you know, which there's going to be a civil unrest here, right? A civil war here. Well, that's happening on a broad scale. Okay. All right.
So the Russian military that are left, you know, other elite units like the 47th Brigade that virtually disbanded because they've been destroyed. But these are the units that the Ukrainians put in to be the fire brigades to plug the hole in the line. And they're saying that we don't want to do this because when they were sent into Avdiivka, they had to run away or die. And now they're being asked to go into a situation that's worse than Avdiivka in terms of Russian superiority. They're like, no, we don't want to die. If we go there, we will die. Who can the Ukrainians count upon right now? Where are their 40-year-old men? They're all already served, dying, dead. They're looking at mobilizing 20-year-olds, but given the reality of Ukrainian demographics, actually the site of the age group that has been targeted for mobilization, drafting right now, there's fewer. There's very few of them left. They weren't born. The way the Ukrainian thing worked is that women stopped giving birth at a certain point, and so there's no 20-year-old kids left anymore. Those that are there have fled, have bought off service. They don't want to serve. Again, just think of motivation. I'm a 40-year-old Russian man, and let's say I have a chronic back condition that precludes my military service. With my own money, I go and I get surgery. With my own money, I go and get rehabilitation so that I can go to the military recruiter at the.
Did you hear what he said? He's like, in Russia, you have a 40-year-old man with his own money, willing to pay for, you know, a procedure he's been putting off just to go and fight in the war. That's manly right there, bro. So that's a different type of spirit that's being put on these Russians to fight. You know, conversely, here in Babylon the Great, what do you see going on? You got men acting like straight breezes. Big 40-year-old man in the U.S. nowadays is identified as a 6-year-old girl. Big ass nigga playing hopscotch with some ponytails. Nigga picking flowers so much. He loves me not. You know what I'm saying? On some geek shit. But this is Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare a war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw nigh. Let them come up. That's what's going on planet Earth. Beat your plowshare into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And this is what we see going on. You got the men out there with chronic illnesses saying, nah, we're going to fight. I'm strong enough to. Okay?
At the age of 44, they'll say, I'm volunteering to serve in the front line. And the recruiter says, okay, you passed your physical, come. The Russians train this man who's motivated. When he wakes up every morning and training, he's saying, how do I prepare to be the best soldier possible on the front line? And he's surrounded by soldiers who believe the same thing. When they finish training every day, they get together and they talk about this. What did we learn? How can we do this better? You know, I can't wait till we get to the chance to serve our country. And they have their leadership who's now looking at men who want to be trained, so that motivates the leadership. The leadership trying to set an example. They're bringing in the best quality training, the best equipment, and so they create this motivated unit that goes to the front line, and now they're prepared to fight. On the other side, you have a unit composed of guys who are trying to flee the Moldova, but they got caught, they got beat up, they got sent to training where they're held in prison like.
You hear what he said? He said, you know, you got all this, you know, manly patriotic thing events, are examples of the Russians preparing for war. Conversely, you got a guy from Ukraine that was trying to flee, got basically dragged to the war, right? Thrown into a damn bus and dropped off, right? And said, hey, you better not run. Give this man a gun and send him out to fight. Who you think gonna win the fight?
Training where they're held in prison-like conditions because out of fear they're going to run away. You can't trust them with ammunition or stuff, so they get very little gun training. They get a uniform, a gun, they issue things. They're not given the gun and ammunition to the last second. And they're put in a vehicle, they're driven up to the front line, discharged, but their leadership doesn't trust them because these guys already ran once. They don't trust them, they don't have leadership. So they come in and they say, where do we go? Here, what do we do? Die. And so they're there waiting. Here come the Russians who want to fight. These guys are there. They have a choice. They can stay hunkered down. They're going to get blown up by the Fab 500, or they're going to get killed by the close assault units. They can try to fight back, but they don't have any training. They don't know what they're doing. So they're going to stand up and spray and pray, and then they get killed. They can retreat, but they can't because behind them is the Kraken unit. Nazi thugs have set up machine guns and snipers, and as they move back, the Kraken unit guns them down. But they can surrender, and the Russians take them prisoner. And hopefully more, if those who survive the Russian preparatory fires surrender. And we see video after video after video of Ukrainians putting their hands.
You hear that? So these Ukrainians, man, they are surrendering at a exponential rate. At a very high rate. They don't want to fight. Okay? They don't want to fight, dude. All right? All right. Now, this is Jeremiah 51, verse 30. The mighty man of Babylon had forborne to fight. That is just talking about, we use this for ancient Babylon. Well, actually, we use this for Babylon now, right? But we could liken this unto what we see going on in Ukraine, okay? Jeremiah 51 and 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might have faded. They become as women. They have burnt her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. So these men have become cowards, in Ukraine, because the power of Russia, right? So they're very unmotivated to fight. All right. Now, couple that statement with, a lack of resources, and you can see that a particular country will lose, or why a particular country would lose a war. Okay, so I'm going to end right there. I pray it was edifying. The rest of the vid, if you guys want to take a look at it, I posted recently in this particular chat. Pray it was edifying for you guys. Giving our praise to my Heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Karkadash, the bonds to the apostles and elders, and peace and many salutations to you bros, kicking this word. Shalom.